Welcome to the May edition of Bridge to India's monthly update on renewable power tenders and policies. We start with the tender and auction updates. Total utility scale tender issuance in May stood at 2,924 megawatts, 29% over monthly average in the last 12 months. Auctions were completed for a total of 3,000 megawatts of projects in the month as against none in April. May saw as many as 18 new utility-scale tenders across multiple states. 9 of these tenders, aggregating to 2,800 megawatt, were issued in project development mode, and 6 aggregating 124 megawatt in EPC mode. 3 sub-tenders were also issued by NHDC for 800 megawatt floating solar, NLC for 100 megawatt solar, and GSECL for 100 megawatt wind. There were 7 new rooftop tenders totaling 12 megawatts issued in the month of May. 3 project auctions in the month include SECI Pan India Solar Wind Hybrid Tranche 5 1200 megawatt, SECI Pan India Wind Tranche 12 1200 megawatt, and RUMS Madhya Pradesh Floating Solar 600 megawatt. Separately, NHPC also awarded a 1000 megawatt EPC sub-tender. Bid submission deadlines were extended for 21 tenders. Gujarat's GUVNL issued Tranche 3 500 megawatt wind project development tender. The bid submission date is 15 June 2022. The tender includes a green shoe option of additional 500 megawatts subject to successful bidders accepting L1 rate. Maharashtra's MSEDCL issued a wind project development tender for 325 megawatt with a PPA tenure of just 12 years and ceiling tariff of only 2.6 rupees per unit. Kerala's KSEB also issued an interstate wind tender for 65 megawatt capacity. Developers are to quote a fixed tariff for 25-year PPA term. Railway Energy Management Company invited bids to develop 50 megawatt solar power projects in Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. UPNEDA issued a 75 megawatt solar project development tender. Bid submission date is 6th June. Multiple states issued tenders under the KUSUM solar scheme. Under Component C, Madhya Pradesh tendered 1,250 megawatt capacity and Kerala tendered 6 megawatts. Under Component A, Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra issued tenders for 98 and 431 megawatt capacities respectively. Flurry of KUSUM tenders continues despite heavy undersubscriptions and poor track record. Now, let us look at new key EPC tenders for the month. GSECL, SECI on behalf of Singaneri Collieries, and Coal India Limited issued small solar tenders ranging between 14 to 45 megawatt capacities. Neyveli Lignite Corporation, winner of a 100 megawatt solar project in SECI's Wind Solar Hybrid Tender Tranche 4, issued a sub-tender for the same. GSECL also issued a sub-tender for 100 megawatt wind project in anticipation of the upcoming GUVNL Wind Tender Tranche 3 500 megawatt. Narmada Hydroelectric Development Corporation issued a sub-tender for 88 megawatt floating solar project in Madhya Pradesh. NHDC had won this project under RUMS floating solar tender in May. Now let us look at the new rooftop solar tenders for this month. 3 OPEX tenders aggregating 7 megawatt capacity were issued in the month across West Bengal, Mangalore and Uttarakhand. Indian Oil, Bhopal Municipal Corporation and Odisha's Oreda issued 1 megawatt EPC tenders each for installations in Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh and Odisha respectively. Assam's APDCL issued a 2 megawatt EPC tender for residential consumers. SECI Pan India Solar Wind Hybrid Tranche 5 1200 megawatt tender was oversubscribed by 3.5 times. Tata Power, AMP and NTPC won 600 megawatt, 120 megawatt and 450 megawatt respectively at a tariff of 2.53 rupees per unit, and SJVN won 30 megawatt at a tariff of 2.54 rupees per unit. The previous tender results under SECI Solar Wind Hybrid Tranche 4 1200 megawatt announced in August 2021 were 8% lower at 2.34 rupees per unit, indicating the impact of rising costs. In the SECI Pan-India Wind Tender Tranche 12 1200 megawatt auction, only 1100 megawatt was allocated. NTPC won 200 megawatt at a tariff of 2.89 rupees per unit, EDF won 300 megawatt at 2.93 rupees per unit, while JSW and Torrent won 300 megawatt each at 2.94 rupees per unit. Tariffs are finally beginning to inch up a little in response to rising costs and other execution challenges. Winning tariffs in the previous wind tender by SECI in September 2021 was at 2.7 rupees per unit. However, strong competition continues to keep tariff in check. In the 300 megawatt floating solar auction by RUMS Madhya Pradesh, AMP 100 megawatt at a tariff of 3.21 rupees per unit, NHTC 100 megawatt at 3.22 rupees per unit, and SJVN 190 megawatt at 3.26 rupees per unit. Finally, NHPC completed an auction for a 1000 megawatt pan-India solar capacity that it had won under IREDA's 5000 megawatt PSU tender. Adani Infra won 600 megawatt at a contract value of 42.9 billion rupees. Tata won 300 megawatt at 17.3 billion rupees, and SSEL ASR JV 100 megawatt at 5.77 billion rupees. This concludes the summary of key tender updates from May 2022.
Let us discuss major policy and regulatory updates. We start with the updates from the central government. Ministry of Power recommends thermal power developers to set up 30 gigawatt solar capacity. The Ministry of Power has recommended that thermal power project developers can install up to 30 gigawatt solar power capacity by financial year 2026 to replace 59 billion kilowatt hour of thermal power generation as part of the flexibility in generation and scheduling scheme for thermal and hydropower projects. The ministry has issued project-wise capacity addition targets for 81 government and privately owned projects. MOP policy for flexibility in generation and scheduling of thermal or hydropower projects allows conventional power producers to set up solar power capacity anywhere in the country. Tariffs for projects located within premises of thermal or hydropower projects would be determined by regulators, while tariffs for other projects would be determined through competitive bidding. CERC removes REC price bands and allows bilateral transactions. In a long pending reform, CERC has approved REC Regulation 2022, removing all price caps for RECs. The latest regulation allows all obligated entities to be issued RECs if their renewable power procurement exceeds RPO targets. Validity of registration has been increased from 15 years to 25 years. Multipliers have been introduced for most costly technologies like hydro, waste to power and bioenergy. While all announced measures are positive, the key supply side hurdle remains unresolved. Since green attributes for most projects are passed directly to off-takers, the market faces a critical shortage on the supply side. It is not clear how this issue would get addressed. DGTR recommends extension of anti-dumping duty on solar glass for 2 years. The Directorate General of Trade Remedies has recommended 2.7 times increase in anti-dumping duty going up to $302 per metric ton on solar glass imports from China. It has also recommended that applicability of this duty be extended by 2 years until 19th June 2024. The recommendation is in line with similar efforts by the government to discourage imports of all intermediate products and promote fully integrated domestic manufacturing. In March 2022, DGTR had recommended anti-dumping duty of up to $908 per metric ton on fluoro backsheets. These measures are laudable, but in the short term will result in further increase in prices of domestic modules, which have already shot up to US dollar cents 40 per watt since BCD implementation. MNRE withdraws bank guarantee requirements under KUSUM scheme. MNRE has clarified that installers would not be required to submit bank guarantees under Component A and C of KUSUM scheme. Under Component A, installers were required to submit bank guarantees of 0.5 million rupees per megawatt. Under Component C, installers were required to submit bank guarantee equal to subsidy to be disbursed by MNRE. At a time when system costs are rising and developers are struggling to meet commissioning deadlines, the move to relax bank guarantee requirements is ill-advised. Instead, the government should have ideally addressed other challenges to KUSUM scheme like lack of interest from farmers, small project sizes, and low ceiling tariffs. Let us now discuss major policy and regulatory updates from the states. West Bengal proposes exemptions on open access charges. West Bengal has issued draft open access regulation offering 75% exemption on transmission charges for solar and wind power projects. The exemption, if approved, will significantly improve West Bengal's attractiveness as an open access market. It remains one of the most underpenetrated states for renewable power. C&I consumers account for 51% of total power consumption in the state. As of December 2021, only 129 megawatt of renewable open access capacity was operational in the state. Gujarat allows net metering under OPEX model. Gujarat regulator has approved an amendment allowing net metering for rooftop systems installed under OPEX model. The amendment also relaxes system size limitation. Net metering will now be allowed for systems up to 1 megawatt in size, irrespective of sanctioned load of the consumer. Restriction of net metering connectivity to CAPEX model significantly limited rooftop solar growth in the state. Favorable view of the state regulator should lead to higher growth prospects for the C&I market. As of December 2021, Gujarat had 610 megawatt C&I rooftop solar capacity installed, accounting for around 8% of national C&I capacity. Gujarat reduces RPO target following non-compliance. Gujarat state regulator has retrospectively reduced solar RPO target for financial year 2020 from 5.5% to 3.5% after the state discoms fell short of the target by over 2 billion kilowatt-hour due to delay in commissioning of projects. The regulator decided not to levy any penalty and instead revised RPO target downwards to protect end consumers from any additional cost burden. Gujarat discoms exceeded wind RPO targets between financial year 2019 and financial year 2021, but failed to meet solar RPO target in all 3 financial years due to delay in project tendering and commissioning. No penalty has so far been levied on discoms for any shortfall. However, Gujarat has been one of the leading states in procuring renewable power over the last 3 years. RE penetration in the state between 2018 and 2020 was 14% compared to 10.6% at national level. This concludes key updates from Indian renewable power market from May 2022. We hope you found this update useful. You can view all tender, policy and regulatory information on the renewable power sector in real time at India RE Navigator, a one-stop market intelligence portal for the renewable market. You can also write to us at contact@bridge2india.com if you have a query or feedback. We would love to hear back from you. We'll be back next month with another update. Until then, goodbye and take care.